Massive game of football, but also massive the Peter Mac Cup between Collingwood and Carlton. This is the longest running charity match in VFL AFL history. The first one taking place back in 1993. If you're coming to the footy tonight, you need to be in your seats by, let's say 7:25, because there's a pre-game extravaganza like nothing ever seen, and it has been designed apparently by our next guest, who is a star. We'd love to see him playing. His name is Sam Docherty. Sam, welcome to Friday Huddle. How are you going?
No, thanks for having me in. Great little lead in there, Howie.
Well,
did a great job.
It's a big build-up. You've been signing guests. You've been doing pre-game entertainment. Can you just give us a little teaser of what we're seeing tonight?
Yeah, well, because I'm a director of the Peter Mac Foundation, so part of my role was to try and build the Peter Mac Cup, as you said, has been going since 1993, but to try and bring it back in a different way and sort of build some presence for Peter Mac in the AFL. And yeah, I've been sort of working away the last 18 months in trying to figure out exactly what we want to do, and I think we've landed in a spot that will honour those that are sort of in their battle at the moment and those that have been lost. And there's no better game than two fierce rivals in Carlton and Collingwood that fans don't overly like each other at the best of times, but to be able to take a stand together in a moment before the game, I think speaks volumes for all the great work that's done at Peter Mac and all the people that are there. The boys will
have all sorts of questions for you, but just one quickly from my perspective, then I'll be quiet. You've obviously had your battle with cancer, which you've overcome. For those that are listening in the car, coming to the footy tonight, have a loved one going through a situation that you've dealt with, it's a tricky one, but what advice from your journey that you learnt would you pass on to those that are currently facing some of the battles you've been through, mate?
Well, I think sometimes it's hard to make sense of what's going on in your life, especially when it's bad. And I'm not to the nth degree of what I'm at the moment with my knee, but sometimes it's hard to make sense of why that's happening to you. And I guess my advice is to just sort of live it, like just live it and not enjoy it, but there will be a point where it'll change. You'll look back and it'll change you for a better reason. I wouldn't be sitting here and doing all my work at Peter Mac without going through my journey of cancer, and it gives me great joy, great gratitude, great pleasure to be able to help people in this world. That never would have happened without my diagnosis. So I look back on it, and it's quite strange, but quite fondly, that it's given me a purpose in life that's outside of myself. And for those that are going through their battles at the moment, I think in time it'll make sense. It doesn't have to right now, and I think that's an important part, that you reflect later in life and it will be a significant moment in your life. And not all stories end up in a great way, and I understand that. And but in terms of if you can think about something right now, I think just living it and feeling that moment and then figuring out what will be a really pivotal moment of your life.
And Sam, we're incredibly full of admiration for you and the person you are, and just the way that you've been able to influence people's lives on the back of that. And then you have to deal with 3 knee reconstructions on top of it. You've had more than your fair share of resilience to work your way through than most people have in 5 lifetimes. How's that for a third time going on top of everything else?
At the moment, it's progressing really well. They're very slow injuries, and that's just the nature of what they are. They're such an important part of playing AFL footy. So working my way through my rehab really well at the moment. I'm very lucky, very sad, but very lucky to have Jack Silvani going through basically the same thing at the moment. So I've got someone to do all of my rehab, all of the highs and lows of footy with at the moment, and it's made it a hell of a lot easier. In terms of being my third, it's frustrating, and I can't sort of dance around that. But as I just said to everyone on over the radio now, that it will make sense at some point in my life. I don't understand it right now, why I'm having to go through it again, but I'm sure there's a great reason at the end that will make it all make sense.
3 knee recos, and you've just told us off air that everyone felt completely different from the other one. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, so everyone keeps telling me, oh, surely you knew, it's your third one, but every one of my every one of my incidents have been completely different. My first one was no contact. I had no pain in my knee and just sort of felt like a click. And then the second one was how everyone sort of does it, which you're down in pain for a fair bit, for about 20 seconds, then no pain in a contest. And then this one, as everyone's seen over the TV, it was a very innocuous, didn't really look like any action that you could possibly do to do an ACL. And all I felt was a tiny shift and a crack. So all three of them have been completely different. So trying to figure out how to diagnose them is so strange. My knee was stable when we were doing all the tests on game day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone out there and played another quarter. So bit of a strange one, sometimes hard to wrap your head around, but the body does some strange and amazing things at times, and sometimes they're not the best.
Well, the body does strange and amazing things, but your mind must as well. Where do you keep finding the drive to go through it? And there must be times where you just go, I'm so sick of this.
Yeah, well, I think naturally there's always that. For me, that's completely normal, and feeling that and living that is completely normal. I guess my mindset is always trying to get out of that as fast as I can. I think you've got to feel it, and everyone goes through disappointments, whether it can be big, small, indifferent. It doesn't really matter, and you go through similar emotions. But what gives me great purpose is having a plan and having some control over what I can do, and what I feel like I do have control over is my mindset and the way I present to people. Doesn't mean that it's all rosy and I don't have my hard days all through this, but that's what I was saying about having Jack before in my rehab. It's important to have really people that are close to you that can pick you up when you need to, and vice versa. It makes the good times sweeter. I remember coming back from my cancer last time, playing out here in round 1 and kicking a goal. It's one of my favourite football memories that I'll ever have. It's some of my teammates' favourite football memories that they'll ever have. And what I was saying before, it all makes sense. Sometimes those moments are what brings you back, and that's what keeps you going.
We're speaking to Sam Docherty on the Friday Huddle. Here's Damien Barrett.
Sam, with what you've been through, and you've just articulated that amazingly well, when you look at what the Blues are seemingly on the verge of doing and now not being part of whatever it lies ahead in 2024, how hard is that aspect when you then layer in the football side of your problems?
Yeah, well, it's tough in some senses, not being out. It's partly that, partly I just love playing footy, and everyone knows that you don't have a great shelf life as an athlete, and when you're losing full years of footy from it, is tough. But I guess there's something that I'm trying to hold on to the moment is I feel in a sense that I've built a lot of what we are now, and I'm really proud of what our group is, and I'm proud of my footy club, and I'm proud of what we present out there, because I feel like I was a massive part of why we are doing that. And the longest two servers at the club, me and Cripper, we came in the same year. We captained the club together, and two of my great mates, and being able to build something basically from the ground up. The next guys next to us is that 2015 draft of Weeders,
Curnow,
Charlie, Harry, those boys. So outside of us, there hasn't really been anyone that's sort of been here for a long time after Ed leaving last year. So I guess what I'm trying to say is as much as it sucks not being out there, I do feel like I have a great connection to the footy club, because whatever happens this year, how far we go, I feel like I've been a massive part of it, which is just as important.
And what's post-football life look like for Sam Docherty? We know you're on the board of Peter Mac. What direction will that sort of stage of your life take you?
I am still open for discussions, to be honest. I'm not sure. The best way to explain it, I'm doing a lot off field. As you said, I'm on the board of the foundation. I'm doing a business degree that I'm just about to finish. I've had years of coaching, unfortunately, in the background at the club, and I always say to people, I live what I love, and my passion and my drive is football, and until that's sort of taken away and off me, that I find it hard to figure out what that is going to be next. Yep. Obviously, Peter Mac fills a significant part of that at the moment, but I'm just trying to get myself in the best possible position I can after footy, that when I finish, I can take the right opportunity that's the best for myself and my family.
Sam, I always have that thought that your worst day in football, and you've had a few pretty bad days, is actually a pretty good day for most people. As you said, you go in the gym, you're alongside Jack Silvani, you're around your teammates. There is a glass half full element, isn't it, to your life and what you do, even when it is a bit of a struggle? Yeah,
definitely. Well, we live pretty good lives when you think about it. We get paid to go and kick a ball around at the Oval and go and get fit in the gym, although some of it is quite tough in terms of how consuming it is of your life. We do have it pretty good, and talking about that gratitude of probably my cancer journey, that the gratitude I have to play footy, there was a point of time where there was a chance that I wouldn't have played anymore. So I sort of live out the back end of my footy career, however long this is, with an immense amount of gratitude to be able to still go out there, play footy. Hopefully I can get back next year, and my daughter's growing up. She's 17 months, to be able to play, and her seeing me play footy is some of the stuff that I'm holding on to.
petermac.com.au is where you can donate, and the Pratt Foundation will go dollar for dollar for every dollar raised tonight, which is absolutely brilliant. When you, unfortunately, are sitting in the stands here, I like to look at the list, Sam, and think, right, this bloke, he's bums on seats. I want to call this bloke tonight. He's going to be exciting. When you watch the Blues in action, who's your number one man that's going to provide some sizzle?
Well, it's hard to go past Charlie when he gets going. He's very, very exciting. If I was going a very dull way of playing footy as a football observer, I love watching Weeders play. Everything about the way that he plays the game is in the right spirit.
Do you know statistically he's got the biggest quads in the AFL?
Yeah, well, that doesn't. Well, when he gets corkies, he bleeds a lot, so they go twice as big. So, I from being an observer and playing backline for a lot of my career, his leadership and ability to win contests and one-on-ones and own that group is unbelievable. So he's one, but if you're going on who's on TV, Charlie's down the other end.
And who has the bigger goal celebration? Is it Matt Owies or Tom Papley, you think?
It's very close, but I'd probably say Owies. He's to be honest, it's a great role of a footy club when you're a small forward because you really can not do much for a lot of the game. You just run around, tackle, chase pressure, and then you kick a goal. And you go absolutely bunter, and the poor defender's probably had 30. He gets one goal kicked on him, he's got to cop it. So he does a great. He does. It's a great role for a football club to be able to have someone that celebrates and brings the energy. We've got great fans that we pack out stadiums, and those celebrations are what brings them to life. So we see it as a bit of a competitive advantage to be able to get them going. So he does a great job for us.
petermac.com.au. As I said, the Pratt Foundation will match every dollar raised tonight, dollar for dollar. Keep your ears and eyes open for a career in the media, mate, because the way you've spoken and the eloquence you've used tonight and the passion you've displayed would be absolutely outstanding on the radio or the TV. Well, probably. You don't want to get carried in all the caper here. Mate, but great to see you, and we can't wait to see you playing footy again soon. Good luck to you and the Blues moving forward.
Thanks, boys. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, Das, when you've got a man in here that's kicked 1,254 goals and won 4 premierships, hard to earn his respect. But our next guest wanders in as a premiership player, a Brownlow medalist and a star of the competition, getting it done for Collingwood. Unfortunately not playing tonight. His name is Tom Mitchell. Hey, Mitch, welcome to the Friday Huddle. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me in here. It's good to be at the footy on a Friday night. As you said, would love to be playing, but it's going to be a great atmosphere tonight.
What's up with the foot? What's going on? When are you ready to play? When do we see you in action again?
Yeah, I've been carrying a little niggle for a little while, so I just couldn't quite get going this week and had to make the call that I wasn't quite right to play. But it's going to be great to see Lockie Sullivan get a debut. He's a great story of perseverance. I'm sure we'll touch on him at some point in the chat. So really,
well, tell us about him now. Missed many drafts. Tell us about the young man.
Oh, he's just a great story of perseverance. He's missed multiple drafts. He's been in the VFL program at the Western Bulldogs for a number of years, gets a spot to train on at Collingwood, and then he's debuting in arguably one of the biggest crowds of the year. It's an unbelievable story. And
those scenes that we see now that we didn't used to see of a bloke being told he's going to play his first game of footy. I'm sure when you debuted back in the day, we didn't see videos of it. What's it like as a club? Because we get invited into that now. When a bloke like that's been through the ringer gets his opportunity and the boys jump on him and rub his hair, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It's always great to see. They obviously get the families involved as well and people that have been along his football journey his whole life, really. So it's great to see the emotion and how much excitement there is. So I'm hoping he goes well tonight.
Bit of dead air. Do you want me to keep asking questions, or does someone want to chip in, or Chief? Or
no, I'm happy to go. Everyone else is just looking blank. I thought Nate put his hand up.
I thought Nate put his hand up.
Sorry, Mitch. When there's a long delay, often music plays in the background. We weren't far away from kicking in there, Chiefy.
How do you, given what Collingwood achieved last year, the last month, 3 wins and a draw, what percentage? We're trying to work out how Collingwood are travelling, and it's really hard to get a gauge on them. And we loved everything that they did last year. First month was pretty slow, and we had a lot of concerns. Last month looks good, but how close are you to getting back to that sort of form that we saw week in, week out last year?
Yeah, we'd like to think that our training standards are always at a pretty high level. Clearly, we started the year pretty slowly, but we always like to have a pretty positive approach. Fly's a pretty positive guy, so we know that we've turned the corner the last month in a number of key areas that we wanted to improve in, one being our pressure. I think that's gone to another level the last month since we put a focus on it. And I think it's important for our group just to stay level. We know that, there's always going to be a huge headline outside. Yeah. The result tonight, if we win, we'll be premiership favourites. If we lose, it's season over. So within the 4 walls, it's just about staying level. And we understand there's still a lot of footy to be played, but we would like to, keep playing our best whenever we can.
Tom, in your short time at the club, how have you found working with and beneath Scott Pendlebury? He's 36. He's showing no real signs of slowing down mentally, physically. Just your impressions of being with him and playing with him?
Yeah, he's unbelievable, Pendles. I guess you have a perception of these type of guys from afar when you're playing against them. And I guess I always thought he was a quite a serious character, someone that prepares, to the best he can, which he does. But he's got a real light-hearted side to him, which a lot of people don't know. He's a great leader, clearly, but he's also got a selfless attitude, which every decision he makes, whether it's on field or off field, is what's best for the team. And that's just something I really admire about him. And I love the fact that he can have a laugh and enjoy his time as well, because I think that's something he's progressed with throughout his footy as well.
Read an article on Taylor Adams today, and it was a heartbreaking story. Obviously, didn't play in the grand final win last season, but he felt like it was a disappointing exit. Do you catch up with Taylor Adams and talk about that sort of thing, because you're a player who has changed clubs yourself? Yeah,
Tay's still a good friend of mine. There's a number of us going to his wedding later this year, so it's going to be great to see him. He's obviously made a move that was best for his career, and he seems to be loving life up in Sydney. So we would have loved him to stay. It was shattering to see him miss last year after everything he's done for the club. He's been a vice captain and been around forever, and then you get to 2 weeks to go before a grand final, you get injured. It's a pretty rough story. So we still love Tay. He's always going to be a Collingwood person, and it's going to be great to see him later in the year.
That was a question we thought Nate was going to ask earlier when he put his hand up.
Just a big pause.
I thought you put your hand up, so I was just waiting for you as the captain.
Mitch, I love watching you play old-fashioned football in lots of ways, to win a Brownlow medal and play the game in the way you do, win contested ball. I feel like watching a lot of junior football that players that maybe don't have the athletic ability find it really hard and have to work a bit harder. Was that something for you at junior level, that you really had to keep working on your game to be able to prove to people that you could do what you've been able to do so successfully?
I think so. There's probably a number of players around the league. Lockie Neal and I are obviously pretty close mates as well. And we're probably not the most gifted. Well, he's a better player than I am, but we're obviously not as gifted with speed and strength and endurance and these things. So you probably rely on your footy intuition and IQ and making smart decisions and being clean with the ball and recognising what your strengths are. So for me, I'm a handball first player. I know that if I can win the ball and get it in the hands of the Dacos boys and Geordie, that's my job. If I can tackle well, that's all I need to do. And I've really just tried to embrace that role since getting to Collingwood. It's probably changed from when I was playing my absolute best footy at Hawthorn, where I probably had a more dominant role throughout the midfield, but my role now is to support those guys, and I'm more than happy to do that.
We saw Pendles get applause last, I think it was 10,000, the 10,000 barrier.
Possessions.
A lot of
They're very good midfielders at knowing how many they've had. How many have you had in your career? That's
not that many, I know that. That's a lot.
Do you know during a game close to the number you've had? You normally know when you're getting it a bit, don't you?
You have a bit of an idea. You'll see a few boys tonight. I'm sure a few of the Dacos boys, and they'll be checking the scoreboard if they've had a few kicks, and they've always got the top 5 up there. So you'll have a few at the centre-bouts tonight. I'm sure have a little look up there.
What's your record, Tom, for possessions in a game?
Record?
He's a 50-plus man.
He's a 54er.
Yeah.
54? 54.
Yeah, I was against the Pies, so I like to remind them that they were my bunnies back in the day.
A former teammate of ours, Scotty West, used to count his possessions before they were up on the board back in the day.
Although Bucks didn't rate the performance that day, did he, Mitch?
Oh, apparently not. No, I didn't have enough of it. Must have needed 60.
Hey, just on tonight's game. So you lose the clearances by 17 last week. You go out, best clearance player. DeGoey, not far behind you as the best clearance player. How do you bridge that gap tonight against two players like a Paddy Cripps? Kennedy will be there, Sam Walsh. They are the best in the business. So how do you close the gap tonight to win the game?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Their DNA is that they're a great contested ball and clearance team, and that's been their profile for a number of years. And the guys you mentioned are great contested ball players. So yeah, it's going to be a combined effort. We'll have some guys rolling through the midfield. I think you'll see some high half forwards come up and play a little bit of mid. Nick Dacos, Paddy Lipinski, these type of guys will probably share the load through there, spin the wheels, and really try and run those guys as well.
It's the voice of Tom Mitchell, the Collingwood star, unfortunately out with a foot at the moment on the Friday Huddle. We've got a little quiz for you in a moment, Mitch. But before that, Ball Magnets. It's an app. It's a podcast. You're one of these footballers that's embraced social media, podcasting. How's it going for you? How do people tune in? And what's the whole process been like?
Oh, it's been good. It's a project that I've been a part of with Cripper and Lockie Neal, and it's all about, I guess, trying to inspire the next generation of footballers to be the best they can be. So we're doing a lot of stuff on YouTube actually at the moment. That seems to be the platform everyone's loving. So a lot of educational things around footy. We're going to release an in-season program. Cripper's got one around stoppages, which will be awesome, and some light-hearted entertaining stuff as well, which we hope people like.
Big man Cripper, isn't he?
He's hard to tackle.
He's a huge unit. Now, we were told by Leroy, who's our man, who presses the buttons. Who is he reliable, Chief, or not?
No.
Especially later on a Friday night. Yes, that is Leroy. He might have lit one up early tonight, but he says you're pretty good on naming football jumper numbers.
Oh, yes, I've heard.
So we sort of thought of the clubs that we've supported or played for these boys, and Damo supported, that we'd throw a number at you and see what you got.
Yeah, the thing is with this, I think I'm actually better from the early 2000s era than the current day player.
Okay, that's all right.
Really?
Well,
Early 2000s.
I want to know who has been a superstar in the number 33 at the Hawks.
Rioli.
Oh, yes, he banged.
Yeah,
Straight away.
Oh, it's not exactly a tough one.
Why don't you ask him who wore 23 at Awful?
Well, I don't want to. If he's no good, I don't want to make him look like a knob. So he's,
Leon Cameron when he was at the Bulldogs.
Well, I reckon that was... He played at Richmond as well. He was 15 at one of them.
oh,
You were 14 at the Dogs.
When I started,
All right,
number
we'll plug
18. Leon
I'll go
Cameron.
next.
Yeah.
47 at Essendon,
What year?
round 2000.
gee whiz, you guys.
No, you get it. He's known to this fraternity.
He owns
I'm
something
thinking
in
like
Bali.
a Henry Slattery, but he was in the 30s. It's
He
not
was
here.
20.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to come back to that.
Ricky Ollerenshaw.
Oh, what do you got, Damo?
Pretty open-ended question, not to give him an era or a year.
Do you want number or player, Tom?
You choose.
Well, number...
I'm going no good anyway,
Let's
so
go
it
for
won't matter.
North era. The early origins of the North successful era with Wayne Keary in this part of the team. Wayne Schwartz.
Is he two?
Oh, yes,
That's
he was.
good.
What about Chiefy?
Right on.
It's going back too far if I start.
No, go on,
giving
Chief.
him
Give it a
stuff.
go. Give it a go.
Russell Green,
That's before my time.
Oh, Russell Green. What number did
I
your
do
dad
know
wear?
29, 29?
29 he was.
Was he?
What about your old man? What did he roll in?
Dad was 10.
10.
I think he was 6 at the Pies as well, actually. He was there for a year, so...
Okay. Well, you
Same
might
number.
have a career in calling if you know the numbers. Hey, next week after, when are you thinking?
Yeah, hopefully it's a short-term thing. Hopefully just a week. And, yeah, we got West Coast next week. But, yeah, big game tonight. Hoping the boys can get it done.
Just before we let you go, have I heard that you've done some work with Diesel Williams in your time?
Yeah, he's been a family friend, bit of a mentor for a long
because
time.
we've had the pleasure of spending some time socially with him. Does he tell you? Does he spend the whole time telling you how good he is?
Yeah, I've heard it plenty of times. What is it, 250 games, 2 Brownlows, Premiership, Norm Smith, 5 goals on the granny. I could pretty much regurgitate it for
What
you.
you might know, Mitch, he was telling us that he set up 3,000 goals as well. He told us.
I
last
saw
time
him
we
telling
got
Tom Brady that when Tom Brady was there. Tom Brady's thinking, who's this bloke?
Hey, Mitch, we can't wait to see you playing again soon. We've loved watching you play, and hopefully you're out here again soon for the Pies.
Thanks, boys. Cheers.
Jump
Thanks,
on
Mitch.
Ball
Thanks,
Magnets,
Mitch.
the app, the podcast. The boys are dominating with
And
Cooper and Lockie
someone
Neal.
put their hand up for that question and then sat there and didn't do anything.
It was a real silence,
Yeah.
wasn't there?
It was a weird moment there, wasn't it?
We're not exactly sure, Das, how to approach this particular topic. As a group, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago and thought with the platform that we had, after everything that had been happening around Australia with the issue of domestic violence perpetrated by men against women, that maybe for the first time in this show we would use the platform to discuss it not as football commentators or ex-footballers, but just as 4 blokes that have wives, daughters, sisters, etc. And we didn't know how to bring it up. And then as of this week, it's become highlighted by the AFL because it's being highlighted off the back of Don Pike in the West Coast talking to the AFL and then getting all the clubs involved that it will be recognised and therefore promote discussion, because when people are watching the footy tonight or listening to this. But in some ways, it's a very difficult thing to talk about because of the modern media in which we work. Everything you say can be written or taken out of context, and as 5 blokes, we sit here going into a discussion like this, terrified about saying the wrong thing or upsetting someone or not using the right type of language or misrepresenting anyone. But we are here as 5 blokes who genuinely understand that to form any change in this situation, it is up to us as men.
And Howie, I had a really unique experience yesterday. I had a friend reach out and said, will you come and have lunch with the Honourable Will Olstergan, who is the Chief Justice of the Family Court of Australia, who is at the coalface of family violence. I'd never met Will. He was an incredibly impressive person, and he's pleading with men like us. And I said exactly the same thing to him. I said, Will, we get nervous about this because we don't want to get our words wrong and perhaps cause more pain to the victims that have been horrifically affected by this. And he said, he said, the stats will tell you 75% of men love their partners, love their daughters, are fantastic role models, but that 3 out of 4 men are silent. And it's not good enough anymore for you just to be a good person and do a good job in your own family, you actually have to take a stand now. We need you to have a voice, and it really has moved me in a way that I feel we do have to stand up. And I see it through the eyes of my beautiful 19-year-old daughter, and I think she has to think about her safety in a way my 3 boys don't have to think about every day. She lives away on the Gold Coast, and I think about, has she got home safely tonight? Has she been in a cab with another friend? Our daughters and our women that we love in our lives have got to put up with shit that we don't have to, and it's just disgraceful, and it's got out of control. He was sharing the numbers that are happening in the family court, and 60% of those cases are with violent offenders who are doing unspeakable things to their partners and to their family. And what is happening is a disaster for family. Speak about the kids that are in those situations, and that's just creating the cycle in Australia. We're not experts on it, I don't know enough about it to really take a stand, but I think we have to. I think we have to voice that it's not okay anymore, and it's never been okay. And I think people like us who care have got to actually speak out more.
And I think that's the point. This is not a conversation where we can provide any solutions. But Damo, I read a couple of articles in the last 3 weeks, and it was saying this is an issue that men and only men can do something about. And I picked my young bloke up from school, and it's a half-an-hour trip home, and I'm like, oh, geez. And you get to these stages, he's 12 years old, and you try and have a conversation with him explaining what's going on. This is why it's on the news when you're in a group of mates. You know, think about the language you're using with girls. But as a 12-year-old, you know, do you pull up your mates? Do you not pull up your mates? And you don't know what advice to give, Damo, except to say it's something that needs to be talked about.
Yep.
And the more conversations that we can all have, whether it's on the radio or at home around the dinner table, to educate the men in our life that we love that things need to change.
The conversation, as we've got to learn on so many other issues, is the starting point. And that, to what you've had with your son, is the good starting point. I want to just throw into this conversation now what Brad Scott spoke about during the week, Howie, and I feel it encapsulates where football and society is at. He's dealing with the domestic violence situation. He had a situation where one of his players this week went to the funeral of Hannah Maguire during the week, and teammates went with that particular player. Equally, he has got a parent-like relationship with Taryn Thomas. Now, Brad Scott can explain his situation here, but he's got the support and love of Taryn Thomas lined up against his condemnation of domestic violence, as the community does in football. We're going to play this grab now. It's longer than what we would normally play, but it does, I feel, reflect where football is at right now through someone who cares. Brad Scott.
It's just a real shame that, we had 4 players at Hannah Maguire's funeral on Monday. I just come so far, and we're still talking about these things that just shouldn't be occurring. But the reality is they are, and whatever role we can play in bringing awareness to this issue and fixing things, we should, because AFL footy is really popular. A lot of people follow it, and we can set the example and lead by example on those things. But it's disappointing we have to. In terms of players like Taryn Thomas, well, the reality is that there are people from privileged backgrounds who have been, have had every opportunity in life, and there are others who haven't. And people will make mistakes. And part of, I think, as a leader and as a coach and as a parent, the responsibility is to have people learn from those mistakes. I've known Taryn since he was 14, and my view is he's a good person. But has he made some terrible mistakes? Yes, he has, and he's the first to admit that. And so as an industry, do we just wash our hands and say we're done with him? Or, do we help him? And I prefer to sit in the help camp.
So, coaches, Howie, I'm not going to sit here and defend Brad Scott. Brad Scott said that in context, and he will, I would imagine, further explain that. But I hope our listeners don't take any of that is Brad Scott saying he wants Taryn Thomas to play for Essendon Football Club. That is a conversation he has not had, as far as I know, nor anyone else at Essendon Footy Club. So that needs to be factored in. And I think the media management of that issue during the week, personally, I would have said, I'm not here to talk about Taryn Thomas today. But Brad Scott is not that person, and he is like a parent in this situation where he is not going to abandon someone who is effectively like a child. So, but this does reflect. Next week, football clubs will be talking about how they bring Taryn Thomas potentially back into the situation and the system.
I think Damo's a possibility to be able to support, and I'm not going to paraphrase a conversation I had with Chief Justice, but there are two sides. We need to speak out and condemn this as males, and there are a separate conversation around what we do with recidivist offenders as well. And I think we can separate both those things. But what hasn't been done enough, according to the experts, is males like us, Brownie, saying we do not stand for this. We would need to do everything we can to make sure that this is something that gets better, because it's horrific at the moment.
You said something to me this week on the phone that I'd never considered before, and you said maybe our old mate Nate is on the right path, because he comes in here and talks about how dearly he loves his wife, and we have a laugh with him about it, and he posts on Instagram that he's dearly in love with her and he'd do anything for her and she's the centre of his life, and we have a laugh about it. But you actually said, oh, maybe Nate's on the right path. So
I'm sure he's on the right path.
Yeah, as much as we joke about that, Nate, maybe we need to take the approach more that you do, as well as educating our men, that we put our women in our lives that we love in the appropriate position,
Well,
which is something you do.
They have to be on a pedestal, because I have 3 daughters, and I've got no doubt at some time they're all going to meet guys and they're going to go out and they're going to have relationships. And I feel like the way I treat my wife is how they look at how a man should treat a woman. So it's from the other angle of they need to be able to choose the right man as well and see the signs and be able to say, no, this isn't right. This is the way my dad treated my mum, and this isn't the way this guy is treating me. So they need to be aware of that. The same thing with Jude too. So anytime Jude is rude at home, I'm saying, mate, you do not speak to your mum like that. You never, ever raise your voice to your mum, because she is everything to you. So it's like Duke said, it is different from men, because we feel safer, where I can't imagine when my girls start to go to parties and that sort of thing, that things can happen and you worry about it. And I just feel like the education was never there at school level either. I can't ever remember being in a class when I'm taught about respect for women at a young age. I'm sure they do now, but in our era, it just didn't happen. So, and I'm sure the era where our parents are involved in, that didn't happen in school either. So there's so many more things that can be done, but being able to be that role model for your daughter, encapsulating on how they should be looking at a man and how they treat a woman, is very important.
Obviously, a 10-minute radio discussion is nowhere near enough to delve into this, but we're only giving our thoughts and our feelings as blokes, as normal blokes. So when you're talking to your children, or say, Das, you're at a barbecue and a bloke you know says something that you just know is not right, I think this is where it gets difficult to pull up your mates or pull up your next-door neighbour or pull up your acquaintance. And personally, in that situation, I never know what to do, because you know if you say something, it's putting a big hole in what you're doing at that particular time socially. But then you go home, and if you hadn't said anything, you think, shit, I should have pulled something up there. And I think that's where it becomes difficult, and there's no answer. You don't know what to do in a situation like that.
No, it's hard, Howie, and I think the evidence suggests that that's something that we've all got to do more of. And I think Brownie's point, I think, it rings home to me, is the example you set on the home front, the example that you set for your own children, and the love you've got for your own partner. And I think all of us share that. The best part of our lives is the fact that we've got these incredible partners. And yeah, it's not something we naturally do openly talk about it, but I think they're all examples that help.
It's a really disturbing subject to talk about, isn't it? I find. I think everything around domestic violence is abhorrent. The numbers that you hear, Duke, are they're disturbing. They really are. So I don't know what the answer is. I don't have kids to deal with, so I'm not in the same space as you guys, but I'm just at the point where I think we all have to do whatever it takes to somehow stamp it out. I don't know what that is. I seek guidance from others in terms of what we can do to help, but it's something that we have to all contribute to make sure that it stops, because until we do get to that zero number, it's just no good, is it?
It's the best and fairest player at Carlton. 2 grand finals of the Pies. Heath Scotland joins us. Heath, welcome to the Friday Huddle. How are you, mate?
Good, Howie. How are you, boys?
Good. Mate, this game is so much about the rivalry. So you're at Collingwood and then you end up at Carlton. What's it like the first day as a Collingwood player walking into the Carlton Football Club, then as a Blue?
Yeah, well, coming into Collingwood, you learn pretty quickly we hate Carlton, and then coming into Carlton, you learn pretty quickly we hate Collingwood. So funny enough, growing up as a kid, before I obviously got drafted, I was a Bulldog supporter and I hated Collingwood and Carlton. So the irony of playing for both of them. But, Look, the energy around the rivalry is huge. I think everybody feels it in footy, and it's great to see both teams that are high on the ladder playing good footy, because it makes AFL footy lively when both sides are firing.
What's your involvement in the game these days, Heath? Where does life find you?
Just local footy, coaching out of Bundoora in the Northern Footy League, and local, me young blokes are playing footy as well, so being a dad, following him around.
How's Bundoora going?
Yeah, going really well. We're zipping 3, so might be coaching much longer.
Is there any contact with Carlton or Collingwood? Any involvement or just catching up with former teammates?
Yeah, just from past player sort of functions. Every now and then, maybe 3 or 4 times a year, I'll come to a sort of a club function, or they ask me to pop along and be a guest or something. So, but they've been really great of recent times, connecting past players and their families to the club, which has been huge. And my kids are starting to get involved there, so it's been great.
You're still looking fit. What are you doing day-to-day life?
Just run an operator signage business, so that keeps me busy, sort of on the tools, or pretending to be on the tools. But
Give it a plug. If we need signs, what do we do?
yeah, call Scotland Enterprises.
Right. Oh, what's the number? Website? Give yourself
my
a
phone
plug.
number. I won't put it on.
Oh, right.
But look, it's going well, keeping me busy, and I try to.
What sort of
train a little
signage?
bit. Everything from sort of vinyl graphics to illuminated signs, and just basic branding.
You came across a couple of the all-time greats in your stints at the 2 clubs. Obviously, Nathan Buckley, the biggest name at Collingwood at your time there, and then our great mate on this particular program and this station, Juddy at Carlton. Who was better?
Oh, geez, that's a tough question. They were both super, and both of them, look, Bucks in his Brownlow year was huge, and so was Juddy. So, it'd be unfair to split them, or pick one. I couldn't split them, but Swanee I played with as well before, but not before his prime. Gavin Brown I started with, so obviously an absolute legend. And Favola, I've stated publicly, he was as good as anybody, and it was great to see him get Hall of Fame status the other week.
Did you like working with Juddy, though? You had more time at Carlton with Juddy than you did
Yeah, look, he's an ultimate professional. I think you could see the impact he had on our footy club coming in, and the change it had, the professionalism. And
Bit of a sicko, though, isn't he?
He's a bit of a what?
Bit of a sicko, though, isn't he?
He's a closet sicko.
He's got everyone fooled,
He's
hasn't
not
he,
as straight as
Juddy?
everyone thinks he is.
As Heath Scotland's face lit up when Brownie said that. Going back in the intro, the grand finals you played in Collingwood, 2002, 2003, I think you mentioned. Do you look at those teams and think it was an incredible performance, how well that side played? It wasn't necessarily chock full of talent, but it was a great team that got the most out of themselves. Is that what we look back on?
Oh, certainly. I think, as you said, like from talent-wise, we probably didn't deserve to be on the same park as the Brisbane Lions side, but we played for each other. There was genuine care. We loved each other as close mates, and there's not a player that would have run out there, and probably vice versa, that wouldn't have sort of done anything for each other out in the field. And we overperformed and nearly pinched the grand final, I suppose, in 2002. 2003, beating Brisbane out here in the first final. I've come in feeling pretty confident next time we're going to, if we were to meet them, and coming into the grand final, they were injured and limping through, and it was a good opportunity, but then they went wallop, and rest is history.
It's the voice of Heath Scotland on the Friday Huddle. I don't know, I'm sure you noticed this week, your teammate, Nathan Buckley, had a big auction for all his various footy memorabilia, and I think the grand final jumper, he won the Norm Smith, didn't he?
Did win the Norm Smith, yeah.
In the losing team.
In the losing team. I think one of the losing jumpers went for $16,000, Heath. So have you been in the garage sort of looking back at what you've got there and maybe get a couple out?
eBay, I think at the moment it's 50 cents.
Right.
And that was me. But, no. Yeah, look, it's a shame. It's
it
obviously
is.
to go to auction, but I'm not sure. Has it been sold? Or?
Yeah, the jumper sold for $16,000.
But who bought it? A private buyer?
No, it was a private buyer who put it up on Instagram and said to Bucks, "I'll donate it back to you if you want, but this is where I'm going to hang it at home." And I saw Nathan say, "No, you keep it, mate." So our own Will Ralston, who's called footy on Triple M, he bought the Bucks' Brisbane Dryers Bone, the old Brisbane Bears
He had
Dryers
some
Bone.
great stuff that he kept. I
did,
can't believe he
yeah.
kept it all. There was some like 90s parachute material.
it was
Brisbane.
Dryers
socks and
Bone
all
with
sorts.
Brisbane logo
Yeah,
on
it was
with
brilliant.
the Bears on.
What did he snap that up for, Adam?
I don't know. We'll have to get Will on. Oh, $360 it was.
He played everywhere on the footy field, but made your name at half back. When you watch footy now, who are some of the players that you sit down on the TV and you go, "I'm going to watch this guy tonight"?
You know what? From a Collingwood perspective, I've always liked watching side bottom. Really like the way he's played his footy, running up and down the wings. But look, how do you not enjoy watching Patrick Cripps in the middle, Sam Walsh, the way he runs, and continually just his passion and care. You can see his commitment to the footy club. Really enjoy watching him. And Georgie Hewitt, obviously, taking the 29. His balanced game of being able to defend for the side. He's nice and solid in the hard ball, and then giving us options with ball use. So he's probably one of my favourite players as well, and it's good to see him going well.
Heath, I remember you getting cleaned up out here on the MCG by Alan Didak famously one day, and it started one of the great all-in brawls. Have you got any recollection of it?
Oh, not really. No, except that everybody sends it to me all the time to get stuck into me. And, yeah, obviously the Collingwood boys who are close mates of mine don't stop ribbing me for it. But, yeah, it was right there in the centre circle, and I wish I'd have seen it coming. But I tried to get him back later on that night. But anyway.
Mate, you played under some famed coaches, some big-name coaches. Tell us about some of those coaches and some of the experiences being coached by them.
Yeah, Tony Shaw was my first coach, and I suppose, as everyone attests, your first year is a bit of a blur. You're just sort of learning the caper. And back then we were mornings and nights, and you didn't train in the middle of the day, so it turned professional sort of that my second year. But halfway through that year, we knew he was gone, and Mick Moldus was coming along, and look, Mick really had turned Collingwood around really quickly, and probably mine and Mick's relationship wasn't great, and hence why I went to Collingwood. But I would have done anything to play, wanted to play for him every week, and really respected him as a coach. But Dennis, the thing about Dennis Pagan coming to Carlton, he showed a lot of faith and trust in me and sort of backed me in, and that confidence probably helped me grow. And he found himself at a probably poor time at Carlton. Like there was no money at the club at that stage, and I remember one year we were training with footies at decals and stickers over the old logos because the club couldn't afford new ones. So it was at a bad time, and obviously we didn't have success, and he was moved on. And then Ratton probably come in and really change of professionalism at Carlton at that stage, and we got a game plan. Really had a lot of time with him, and Alan Richardson really developed, and we started to make some inroads, and then Mick come back, and my time was gone again.
What was the origins of that? You just clashed, did you?
No, look, there was nothing personal.
No.
I think it was just as simple as, and it happens everywhere, some coaches probably like some players better, and there was just lack of opportunity, I felt, at that stage in my career. So the opportunity after 5 years was coming at Carlton. Look, I took it. I still had a year to go at Collingwood, but I felt with that year after the grand final, players looking like coming in and who were ahead of me in the midfield, my chances to push my career further at Carlton were greater.
Have you bumped into Mick post-footy?
I have, a couple of times. Look, like I said, I really respect him. He's an icon of the game, and it was just one of those player-coach relationships that didn't really click.
He looks at that 2002 grand final team as one of his personal greatest achievements. This is a guy who's won premierships at two footy clubs, so it must be of great value to you to know that he does align that year with one of his greatest moments.
Oh, certainly. And look, I suppose, in the back of what I said, which contradicts it to some degree, is when it came to finals, he picked me to play in the finals and the grand final. So, look, I really appreciate that, and to have that experience was great. And look, like we were talking about before, that sort of team, the closeness of those that group, the two of those guys are godfather and my daughter, and I went on to sort of be at Carlton for 11 years. So the friendships and the closeness was really what probably drove that club to the level it got to.
You didn't, and I think it was well done not to answer Damo's question about Bucks or Juddy, but as we let you go, Heath, you paid for both clubs. Simple answer, who do you want to win more tonight, Carlton or Collingwood?
Oh, Carlton.
Oh, there you go. Good
No
correct
hesitation.
answer. He's got his flag as well.
I'm a Carlton man. But ironically, like I said, Carlton hate Collingwood, Collingwood hate Carlton. I still love Collingwood, but I'm a definite Carlton man.
Good on you, mate. Great to see you, Heath, and great to see you going well. Again, is there a website for the
Scotland Enterprises.
.com.au?
Yep, that's the one.
Right, get on. Do you need some signs, Nate, or what's happening?
I could always do with some signs.
Right, we'll get Heath down there and sort you out.
Darce had a sign in his front yard.
Oh, yeah, he did.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, that was a political
There's been
sign.
a few signs for you that you've missed, actually, Nate, over the journey.
Hey, good on you, Heath. Great
Thanks
to
for
see you.
having me, fellas.
Thanks.